Well, good morning, everybody. This is Deborah Ivanoff, the Being Coach, and here with me this morning is Jackie Pasciak, our Being the Solution instructor. Welcome, Jackie.
Thanks, Deb. Good morning.
So we're speaking to you from early in the morning here in Portland, Oregon, on two different locations. We're doing a fireside chat. No, we're doing an early morning chat this morning about being the solution. And specifically this morning, we're going to be talking about the power pause. So I guess to kick things off, let's see, last week we talked about the power of choice. Isn't that what we talked about, Jackie?
I think we did, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, just was checking. Last week we talked about the power of choice. Today we want to talk about the power pause. And for those of you who don't know what the power pause is, Jackie, why don't you just briefly explain what the power pause is for those who may find the idea intriguing, but maybe they haven't heard that much about it, or maybe they haven't heard that much about it lately.
Yeah, well, the power pause, I think the term was coined by John Harricharan, who wrote a whole book about it. And he has given us permission, as well as Daryl Rutherford, he gave permission to use it and use it as part of the Being the Solution workshop. Um, and it is simply, well, maybe sort of a visualization. The concept is visualization, but it has a few different elements to it. It's kind of defined as a 3-minute process, but I tend to play around with that time, um, where you get yourself into a nice, peaceful place to begin with, and then you visualize the outcome that you want, and then you express gratitude for having already received it. So those are kind of the 3 quick steps in the power pause.
Yeah, I like that. And I don't know where it got that reputation as a 3-minute process. I think it's because people mix up 3-step and 3-minute, maybe. But I've seen people do it a lot longer, and I've seen people do it a lot faster. But they always include those 3 steps that get yourself into a peaceful place, and then visualize as if you were experiencing what you really want, and then that being grateful for it. And it's such a powerful tool. It's such a powerful tool that, Jackie, that I remember one time hearing John Harricharan speaking in an interview where he said he forgot about it. And he was experiencing, I remember he was walking with a cane. It was something that he was, I don't know if he'd been in an accident or he'd hurt himself or something. He was experiencing pain in his body. And this is so typical too. It's his daughter who said, hey, Dad, what about the power pause? It's your tool, you know? And he was like, oh yeah, the power pause. And he said he used it, and then he heard about a resource, someone who could help him work on his body, and then he found some kind of exercises that he could do, and all these resources kind of came to him after suffering for some period of time. And that's what I like about the power pause, Jackie, is that after suffering for some period of time, that seems like you start with after the suffering. Then when you use the power pause, it can really alleviate that suffering and begin the process of moving in the direction of what we want. It's so powerful. And I don't know about you, I have seen people in the workshop over and over create total miracles from doing the power pause. And then they leave the workshop and they forget. And then when they come back and they take a workshop again, oh yeah, the power pause. I don't know. What have you experienced when you see people in workshops? Do you see that happen?
Oh, all the time, not just workshops, but even myself, sometimes now that I know a lot of people who know about the power pause, I'll say, well, I'm having this sort of challenge or that sort of challenge. Well, why don't you do a power pause? Oh, why don't I? Um, I think that even when I talk to people about the power pause, I notice that you can go deeper and deeper with it. People have deeper and deeper questions because it's not part of the logical mind. So what happens is your logical mind starts trying to figure it out, and it can't.
Yeah.
So it's just a practice. You just have to do it and see what unfolds. It's not, it's not a guarantee. It's not a, anything that you can explain with your logical mind. But the fun thing about it is that you feel better, and when you feel better, you make better choices, and that's what's
Right
fun.
there. There you go. I've seen people use the power pause in different ways too. I know the power pause was originally given to John Harricharan in this form that he wrote down. And he kind of wrote about his whole journey in the book. If anyone's interested, that book, The Power Pause, is actually really it's a nice book. And it has some of his journey his own personal journey in the book with intertwined with the steps of the power pause. And I know people in the workshop sometimes, for instance, Daryl always does the workshop, he says, or what I remember him saying was that he has this beautiful picture behind his desk, and he'll turn his chair around and look at that picture, and that kind of takes him to step one. And what I notice is Daryl's a very visual person, right? He likes to read, he likes to write, he likes to look at things, and so that really helps him. But I've known people who are very kinesthetic, and so they need to do something with body maybe for that first step. Maybe take a few deep breaths, center themselves, maybe, put both feet on the ground. It needs to be more of a physical thing. And then I know other people who are very auditory, they may listen to some beautiful music, and that'll do that first step for them. And even that second step, I think that's why some people can put a picture of a beautiful, vacation scene on a vision board, but other people actually need to go to a travel agent or need to go hang out at their local beach to begin to get that feeling or that flavor of putting themselves in the experience already. How does it work for you, Jackie? I'm curious how it works for you.
Well, I'm definitely kinesthetic, so I might have the peaceful place, but I've got to actually feel the wind and smell the smells and hear the birds, in order for me to get there. Just a picture of it's not going to get me there. And the same with, I've been really frustrated with vision boards. I'm not really motivated I can start one, but I'm not motivated to finish it, and then it really doesn't do much for me. So it has to be whatever that endpoint is. If I'm trying to visualize getting more clients, it's a feeling for me. It's not the scene per se. It's the feeling that I get when I experience what I want.
So I'm curious then, because I think ultimately I've really studied the power pause a little bit, and I think it is the feeling. I think that's what we're trying to get to. And some people get the feeling when they see it in their head or see something out there that helps them see it. Some people need to actually feel it. Good example of that for many people is to go hang out in the beautiful car, right? Take it for a test drive, go try on the beautiful clothes, go walk through open houses, get online and talk to a travel agent. But it can be, those are sort of bigger things on the outside. I mean, it can be qualities too. If what we want is peace, and we're very kinesthetic, then if we can go to a sanctuary or a garden that we can sit and meditate and get that actual experience of what it feels like, I find that to be very, very valuable. But how does that work for you to get to the feeling part of it when you are very kinesthetic? If it's not prompted by something you hear. So for instance, it's funny, I find that I do the power pause when I lead people in the power pause because I'm so auditory.
Mm-hmm.
So to actually be leading a group through the power pause, I actually feel it running through me. So how does that work for you? How do you get to that feeling part of what it feels like to have a new client?
Well, it does take sort of a resetting if I'm in a, sort of a busy mode or automatic mode or whatever you call it, or even if I'm experiencing stress. I kind of need to get away, start breathing, and just getting my mind off of whatever it is in order to get into that power pause. And then I can get into that feeling, and that's when it's good. It's when.
Is that what it is for you then? Is it just recalling the feeling and letting yourself have that feeling now?
Yes. And sometimes I have to, sometimes if it's something I haven't experienced before, like, for example, if you don't have any clients yet and you're kinesthetic and you don't really know what that's going to be like, I sometimes write a paragraph of what I think that might feel like. So then I can sort of write it down and get an idea of what that feeling's going to be like, and then I can start feeling it. So sometimes I have to think about it. Well, how would I feel if this happened? And then that kind of gets me going on the feeling.
Gotcha. Gotcha. As you're talking, I'm thinking about two really, people who've been in workshops in the past that just really stand out to me in how they played with the power pause. Because I think that's what you said. We kind of have to experiment with it and experience it and see, what really works for us. And one person in a workshop called me, this was years ago, called me and said, this power pause thing doesn't work for me. I'm kinesthetic. I don't get it. Daryl's talking about see this and see that, and I can't get there. And as we talked, he was wanting to change his financial situation. And it was kind of funny because the phrase having money rain down on me came out of his mouth. And I started laughing and I said, what if you did that? What if you went and got some money and actually, allowed it to rain down on you and actually felt it on you? And he got really excited about the idea, and evidently he did it. He ran to the bank. He took out $100 in dollar bills. And the funny thing is 100, we think that's a lot. We think of 100 as a lot, right? But if you throw it up in the air, that's what he did. First, he threw it up in the air, and like 2 bills hit him, and the rest of them went everywhere else. I thought that was so funny. And he said he sat there going, this is my life. All of the money's swirling around in the air and none of it's hitting me. But this is what was so amazing about the process, Jackie, that I thought was so fun, is he went in a bathroom, like in a tinier room, like a little half bath. And he said he actually turned out the light. So I thought this was really interesting too, very kinesthetic. So he turned out the light so he couldn't actually see what was happening with the money. And he would just gather the money up and throw it up, and he would close his eyes in that dark little half bath, and he would feel the money hitting him. And then he would express gratitude. Then he would just feel the gratitude for, being there in all the money. I just thought that was a brilliant way of taking the power pause in a direction that was more what would work for him. And he got a real kick out of that. He really got a real kick out of that. In fact, I was inspired by that. Next time I was at the bank, I got $100 in dollar bills, and I spread it all over the bed and let the kids roll around in it. That's really funny. And they thought that was really fun too. I thought that was real fun. And then the other one that really stands out for me is a different client who was very, very auditory. He liked to be in conversation, and he really liked those deep connections, those friendships and deep connections. And he played with the power pause with a friend of his driving back from, I think they were coming from Denver to some other city. And the whole way there, they talked out a power pause for themselves as if they were having a conversation and telling the other person exactly what they were experiencing in their power pause. And what this person said to me was, by the time he got to his hometown, he felt like he had been, like 8 cups of coffee. He was so energized, so high off his vision for himself, out of speaking it and hearing it and being excited for his friend and having his friend excited for him. And I thought, that's just brilliant. But the funny thing about it is, it's not like I could as a technique, or you could give that as a technique to a student. It's not like you could say, oh, you have to have a conversation with a friend, because that might not be what it is for them, Yeah. And for those highly visual people, I think they do need to see it for their brain to believe it. It's not just something you can talk about. They actually really need to see it, sometimes with their outer eyes and then with their inner eyes. And I think that that's why those people who do go test drive a car and have someone take a picture of them, right? So then that's a real experience. They have a photo of themselves in their new car, and that gives them that really strong experience. Do you have any favorite stories?
Well, it just reminds me of I did a conversational kind of power pause once. I was on a road trip with a friend and we were in New Mexico and we didn't know, we had an idea of where we were going to stay next, but we were just kind of winging it. And got over this mountain pass and it was snowing and we're like, "Oh my gosh. This might be the night when we're actually spending the night in the car," because we had no idea where the next, whether the next town had any accommodations. Turned out it didn't. And but when we were going over the mountain pass, we were talking about the place we were going to stay, and it was going to be this rustic wood cabin type thing, and we were going to have this amazing breakfast, and it was going to have a hot tub. And amazingly enough, the first town we came to had no accommodations, and we really thought we were going to be spending the night in the car, and it was cold. And and sure, then we just stumbled across something. The first thing we saw, we had a vacancy sign, and it was off season. So we got into this nice little wooden cabiny kind of place, and
That's great.
and then it had the hot tub. It was, an amazing, phenomenal price and really cozy. And then the next morning, she said, "We need to go into this bar." And it had no windows on the outside. And I was like, "What?" She said, "Believe me, I've grown up in a small town. This is where the best breakfast is." And we had the most amazing breakfast in that place in the back of the bar in the sun
What
of
a
Sunday morning.
great story. That's a great story, Jackie. That is a great story. It's also a great, example of living the tools. Okay, so the power pause is a tool, right? But it's actually living it. Like you actually, in the moment, applied it. So when we practice it, then it's available. I love that. That's just what a great story. That's so fun. That's so fun. Well, thanks for hanging out with me this morning, Jackie. This has been a fun little conversation about the power pause. And I do want to just give a plug for Being the Solution. Jackie Pasciak, our certified Being the Solution instructor. I'm so delighted as the Being coach that the original curriculum, the 9-week original Being the Solution, has joined our offerings, our group of offerings, our programs here at Being the Solution, at the Being Coach. And we don't have a date for the next coming Being the Solution, but if you're interested, please let us know, because we want to open that up and have you first on the list of invites for our next Being the Solution. Full of tools, 9-week program full of tools. We're just talking about the tools sort of one-on-one. Come on back. We'll be talking next week, same time, same place. And let's see, anything else you want people to know, Jackie?
I think you've covered it all. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, good. So if you have any questions, reach out to us at info@beingthesolution.com, or you can find both of us on Facebook, Twitter. You can find us all kinds of places. So reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.